I mean, you have an amazing start. I mean, you're 25, you're married, things are great. You have a cerebral accident, a stroke.
Yes. They're like, oh, I think you have an adrenal tumor. I was like, what? It's like, you could die any day. And that's what mentally really hurt, was the expectations of, well, then how does life go? Mm-hmm. Cannot advise her to do this. She could die. And if she dies, the baby will live, but she'll die. And then they turned to me with my husband at the time standing next to me, and he said, Dar, I know this is hard and I have children, but I cannot advise you to do this because you legitimately could die when you get pregnant.
Goodness.
It'll push the clock. Do you want to risk having a child with no mother?
Welcome to Bending Over Backwards with James Adkins. I'm your host, Dr. James Adkins, where each week we take a deep dive into what it takes to break through barriers or change the game, whether it's in medicine, business, or life. I have a lady sitting next to me, Darleen Santore, Coach Dar. She is a board-certified occupational therapist. She is a world sought-after public speaker. She is a coach to NFL, NBA, NHL teams. She is a mental health coach, and just an all-around incredible human. You've got such a great story. You've overcome tragic, crazy things in your life. I finished your book. I love your book.
Thank you.
The Art of Bouncing Back with Coach Dar. This was inspiring to me. I've already started using some of your your skills that you teach.
Perfect.
But tell us a little bit about you. You know, where you're born, all that stuff, where you're from.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love the work you do.
Thank you.
And I just feel this is so serendipitous in the most aligned way from our backgrounds in the health and medical field. And that's where I did start out. So I grew up in Connecticut. My whole family is, as I shared in the book, a bunch of Italians in the East Coast. And
big football fans.
Oh, yes. I mean, we watched every New York Giants game under the sun. But it's interesting. I always share this part of the story. When you look back, there is definitely a common thread that gets you to where you are now to some degree. And I never knew all of the sports stuff that I did with my father, all of the film I watched, which why am I watching football film? Everything that we did as kids, I was like, it was training for me coming into sports. And it's not like I saw it after. I just started out in the hospital as an occupational therapist taking care of traumatic brain injured patients. And, you know, as I always share, I thought I was living the American dream. I was working in the hospital, growing in the hospital, married my college sweetheart, had a house, a dog. Everything was great.
A dog. You are from Connecticut.
Yes. It's like New York Italian. And it's one of those things in life that these expectations of how you see life going, because it's what Hallmark and Disney and everything tells you, this is how life goes. And then it doesn't. And you have to be careful with that. And understanding that you have goals and you have dreams and this is what you hope for, but that you have to stay agile along the process.
You talk about that.
Life doesn't go as planned.
So true. And you've got such an amazing story. I'm excited to get to that.
Yeah.
And you talk about mental agility and mental neutrality.
Yes.
And then also the mental accountability. Those are three of your tools. I remember reading and I love that. I've already started using it.
Oh, good.
It's great stuff. So you have an amazing start. I mean, you're 25, you're married, things are great. You got this perfect life. Boom. You have a cerebral accident. There's a stroke. And then share with our listeners a little bit about that story.
Yeah, it was one of those where I'm just going about my day working at the hospital, and I had hurt my back, and then I just went to a chiropractor because I had tried all different therapies, and it wasn't getting better. So I thought, I'll go to this town chiropractor who's wonderful. But I just happened to go, and when they manipulated my neck, they ripped the artery to my brain. And the vertebral artery was severed. Yeah. And so it developed a blood clot. But as I was bleeding in the brain, it occluded, obviously, the whole blood supply to the left side of the brain. And when it did that, that's when all of my symptoms hit. And I was at the hospital. And I came home, though, because I thought I didn't have paralysis, so I thought I had a sinus infection.
Yeah.
And then when I went to the hospital, they actually misdiagnosed it as a tumor because the imaging they saw, obviously, a
Yeah, you thought it was a tumor behind your ear.
Yes,
and giving you,
they're like, oh, I think you have an adrenal tumor. And I was like, what? But working enough, obviously, in the hospital, I just said, which I share all the time, be an advocate for your own health. Everyone's doing the best they could, but not everyone's always right.
Yeah.
And sure enough, when I found my own private neurologist, he said, Dar, did you get in a car accident or do something to your neck? And I said, Doc, I may have something going on with my brain, but I know I didn't get in a car accident. I said, but
I remembered that.
yeah, I said, but I did go to a chiropractor, and he goes, I think they tore your artery. And so that's what it was. And when he found it, though, he said, good news, bad news is we're not going in to touch this. And right now, it's just going to be touch or go because we need to get scar tissue to kind of come around that area. And, you know, when you're told at 25, and again, this is a long time ago, but you only have the tools you have. And he's like, you could die any day. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is what my patients go through. And as a 25-year-old from an Italian family, I was told I could die any day and that I couldn't have kids. And we had just bought the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. And again, this goes to the expectations of, I'm like, no, this is where my career's going. We're going to have a family. He was really great in sports. I was good. He was great. I'm like, we're going to have athletes, like everything. I'm like, this plan is not going as I thought. And that's what mentally really hurt was the expectations of, well, then how does life go? And that's that moment for me where thankfully I have some gumption in me where I just was,
A lot.
if I could die any day, I was like, well, then I want to go fix healthcare. It was just so ridiculous.
Small goal.
Yeah, yeah. And there was a big position open at the hospital to run a large hospital.
Wow.
And I applied for it. And the woman, she was the CEO of the hospital. I love her to this day. I went in for the interview and she says to me, Dar, you're not getting this job. I was like, oh, I'm not? She goes, no, you're not even interviewing for it. You're not qualified. But I wanted to meet you and I wanted to see why you want to do this and help you. And she convinced me to go back to school for business. And then at 28, I was running a healthcare company.
Wow. So at that time, you were a board certified occupational therapist, but you were getting into management.
Yes, I went back to school for business, healthcare administration.
Okay.
Then came out and was running healthcare company, staffing, rehab.
That is a hard job.
It is so hard.
That's what I've been doing for the last 2.5 decades. It's so hard.
It's
Leading
so hard.
physicians, leading therapists, getting a healthcare team where people work in silos and everyone's sure that their assessment is right. You know, when there's no, and you had some mistakes, right? There were some misdiagnoses involved along the way with you. You went to the hospital multiple times, correct? And was it sinusitis, or is it a acoustic neuroma?
Right.
Is it a vertebral artery dissection? What is it, right? And then you had to go hire your own private neurologist who heard your history and
right away.
But he also gave you some other incorrect advice, right?
Well, then, so he sent me to the high-risk group at Yale, which helps you obviously decide whether you could have a family or not. And that's
terrible.
2 doctors, the medical director of Yale, and then another doctor, and they were fighting in the room because one of them, very ethnic gentleman, kept saying, you can't take away this right from her, and they're fighting. And he's saying, I am the gosh darn medical director of Yale here.
You're hearing this. They're in the room
they're
with
fighting
you
in the room.
over your future.
Yes.
Because you have a family.
Yes.
You want to have a baby.
Yes, yes. And he's going, listen, we medically cannot advise her to do this. She could die, and if she dies, the baby will live, but she'll die. And then they turned to me with my husband at the time standing next to me, and he said, Dar, I know this is hard and I have children, but I cannot advise you to do this because you legitimately could die when you get pregnant.
Goodness.
It'll push the clot. Do you want to risk having a child with no mother? And I just looked, and then I'm looking at my ex-husband or my husband at the time, and then he's
terrible.
looking at me like, is our whole world changing right now? And as a woman, you just feel so
inadequate.
Yes, all of that. So what did I do? I threw myself into work. I was like, well, let's go. I'm going to go change the world. I'm going to make things better for us.
You are.
And I have.
And you are.
Yeah.
You gave me some good stuff.
Yeah. And I've helped thousands of people now. So the reframe I write about in the chapter, when I was writing about reframing setbacks, that's when I heard the news, which was, again, a misdiagnosis way back then. I go think I'm having a fourth stroke while I'm writing reframing setbacks in the book, and I'm staggering and all these things again, and I find a new neurologist, and thankfully it was not a stroke, and he said, Dar, did you tell me you thought you couldn't have children? And I said, no, change your wording. It wasn't thought, I was told. And he goes, I am so sorry, but you should have been able to be having children all this time. And I've even stayed single all this time because I didn't want to, people that I would have, since my divorce, spent my life with, I didn't want to hold up them for having, a family.
That's a burden, and you didn't take it as a victim.
No,
I love it. You're so strong, and the tools you've developed. I mean,
it's the tools.
Wow.
And I say all this for everyone listening because at 25, I did not have these tools that I have now. And I've been doing the work just like I'd advise someone. I've been taking my own medicine.
Yeah.
And even now, I have health things that, though literally an hour ago, something that was bothering me, but thankfully, for whatever reason, as soon as I lock into purpose-driven work, like I feel fine right now.
Yeah.
But everything's fine. So God just somehow graces
wired you
me.
that way.
Yes, I just got to stay in flow.
Well, it was your mother who would say
yes.
that as long as I have a minute here,
I have a purpose.
I have a purpose.
Yeah, and that's where I learned the resilience.
Yeah.
My mother just kept getting up 10 heart surgeries. At 40, she had a triple.
And she had strokes too.
She had stroke. She had open triple bypass, open heart surgery at 40.
Yeah.
And she had multiple all the way until and even the week she went, the week she went, she had the heart attack on that Monday. I talked to her in the hospital on Tuesday. She was not doing good. Wednesday, she starts to turn the corner. I go, here we go, 10 lives instead of 9 lives. She goes, and I've been telling everyone in the hospital about faith and God. And listen, if it's not your time, it's not your time. I go, look at you.
Amen.
And I'm so happy. Then she goes home, discharged on Friday, and all of a sudden she looks gray. And my nephew says, Auntie Dar, Nani keeps talking about wanting to go home. So I said, put her on FaceTime. And she's like, I want to go home. And my father's like, you are home. I said, Dad, I don't think that's what she means. He got nervous. And I just got on a plane and I knew. And then she waited till I came home.
Aww.
Yeah.
Now, she was pretty young still.
72, sure.
I think that's young.
It is young.
I mean, women live today in their 90s.
99.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my dear friends, Helen, just passed at 99. And that lady got up at the sunrise, walked at sunset, and went to bed. So plenty of people have longevity now, thankfully. She just, from a history of heart disease.
Yeah. But she had the right attitude. She God's purpose. She was here.
did.
She was gonna be celebrate His kingdom,
Yeah.
work for Him, right?
Resilience is key. And I saw it, walked out. I obviously know going through it. And the other, I think the thing is what's the other option? And it's not to say we don't feel in the things we're going to, but I just know sitting too long in the pain becomes quicksand.
It does.
And what you focus on, you feel. So we could talk about it all day, or we could talk about it, feel it, embrace the suck of it.
Embrace the suck.
And then take action at some point, because I have a very funny hockey friend that says motion is lotion.
So true.
You have to get in motion.
Movement is the best medicine. I say it all the time. It is the best medicine.
It is.
A common thing, I don't see patients anymore, but I'll say to our physicians, our team, say, if people would use their turn signals and train their core, I'd be out of a job. We'd be out of a job.
That's right. That's
because
right.
It's hard for people to connect the dots between the little bit of work today and what it does in the future, right? And I'm speaking about myself too. It's a hard thing to connect the behavior today and how it's causing you to suffer. I run a spine and pain program, and we're now part of 35 practices throughout the 7 states throughout the southern United States.
Beautiful.
And our mission is to save lives by putting people on Suboxone. You're familiar with that medicine. So we try to take patients off opioids.
Yep.
put them on Suboxone. And to prevent spine fusions, we try to do decompressions or inject patients, utilize chiropractors, physical therapists for manual medicine, and behavioral health.
Right.
And behavioral health is 50% of it.
It is.
And the first 20 years of my career, I thought it was 1%. I was so wrong.
I know.
It's right here.
It is.
You see this with your profession. You coach professional athletes and C-suite. Give me some examples. Tell me an interesting story of one of your professionals.
I love you're making this correlation because I want to go to the compound effect.
Okay.
So just what you said, like if people would train their core every day, how much that would help with prevention of other things. But we know it in theory, but it's doing it every day. And even just talking to people that maybe take their health for granted, I don't. So that's what gets me in there. But, you know, my own sister, I'll tell her, you have these problems, but you don't do anything about it. And so she'll sporadically work out. I said, that's never going to give you the results. And then you're going to wait till you're in the hospital. So in saying this, I want everyone to know whether I'm working with a pro athlete or one of the best CEOs, the common factor is their consistency.
So true.
It is so much their consistency. Number one, they're driven by the goal and the purpose. Because if you don't, I call it why power over willpower. And I get every one of them connect to their own personal mission, not just the company mission, but why are you and I getting up every day to do what we do?
So powerful.
Because, you know, you're tired in the morning. You don't want to get up. You don't want to deal with the problems at work or even for your health, your marriage. But listen, if you don't put in the effort, you're not going to get the results. So the option is don't be consistent and then there's going to be fallout. Or put in the effort and have some consistency. And what happens is you're able to do hard better because you're in a consistent pattern that helps you in your flow state. So players start to understand this because they go, oh, the more I do this, the better I get. And I could be in flow and I could do the hard, which is the grind of the season. But if you're in flow and you're in your giftedness is what I mean by that, you could do hard better. So
true.
Consistency and discipline and your being purpose driven is going to help you succeed at life far greater than just trying to will yourself with no emotional behavioral connection to it.
Willpower will fail you, won't it?
Absolutely.
And I know you're in your neuroscience. That's
Yes.
your area of focus, and you've
I love
lived it.
it.
You've lived it. It fascinates me too. Some neuroscientists are talking now about this area in the brain that grows when you do things that are really hard, right?
Yes.
I forget the
Yes.
middle cingulate gyrus. I can't
It
remember
is.
what it is. Is that
Yes,
what it is?
it is.
So that's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
If you do hard things, and none of us want to do hard things. Nobody, the toughest, strongest man or female doesn't want to do hard things. But if you do them all the time, what does Goggins say? What does he say? It builds a shield around his brain or does something. It hardens his
does.
brain. And it's so true.
It just teaches you that we build up more fear about not doing something and the talk of it, or it's going to be so hard and not doing it. And I equate this to the cold plunge. So you talk about the cold plunge and it's, oh my gosh, it's so cold when it's just get in.
I did it this morning. I know what you're talking about.
Just get in and do it. And what happens is when you've been in a consistency for a few days, your brain actually goes, oh, I know this isn't so scary. It's still cold, but I'm not in fight or flight. Like, we're going to do this in 2 minutes. We're fine. It starts to accept the hard.
Yeah.
Whereas the more space you take between those cold plunge days, your brain goes back to, oh, we don't like this. So stay in the consistency of doing the hard, and then the hard's not as hard anymore. Kind of like 3 strokes. By the third one, I went into the ER with a note going, I have a nervous smile, so I'll be smiling even when something's going wrong.
What'd you say? I'm not drunk. I'm not this. I'm not this.
I don't have the flu. I'm not drunk.
Yeah.
Here's what's got to happen. And I go into the ER with a note that says I'm having a stroke, but I'm smiling. And the lady goes, you know you're having a stroke? I go, oh, yeah. Do you have a charger, by the way? Because my phone's going to go down. And I'm sure I'm going to have to get in contact with someone. And she's like, why are you so calm? I go, this is my 3rd rodeo. We just got to make sure we get through this. That's what I told her.
Wow.
But
You've been training for this your whole life.
I have.
You've been training for this your whole life. And you found out about this with this. I remember reading in your book, you talk about when you were writing this, how you started getting more migraines and more headaches. And that's the reason you went back to this
Right.
neurologist, correct?
Right.
Who said, who gave you that feedback that
Right.
must have been Heart-wrenching.
It was hard.
Heart-wrenching. But
I had to reframe it though.
of course you did.
And I was
That's what you
going to
teach.
train an NBA player right when I was coming out of that meeting with the doctor. And I'm like, I literally have to go and show up. There's no, I mean, I've never really had a lot of time. My father passed, my mother passed. You still are expected to give a keynote. When I'm working with the athletes, the pro athletes, like something happens in their life, they don't get a chance to say, I'm not playing this game tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe one game, but that they're back.
I bet you get some calls at peculiar times of the day and the evening.
2 a.m.
Yeah.
1 a.m. Yes.
Because they need you.
Yes.
They're relying on you.
And everyone wants something from them, and I could be a trusted sound advisor for them where I just want to know they have an outlet. But everyone in the world, no matter what your income is, needs to be seen, heard, and loved.
So
Everyone.
True. That's so true. I have this little aphorism I say to myself sometimes when I'm feeling lack of confidence, and it's it's written. I wish I could give credit to someone because it wasn't. I didn't dream it up, but it's I am enough. I have enough. I'm loved enough.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it really centers me. You know, we all suffer. We all go through pain, but we don't all have to suffer. There's ways of getting through that, right?
That's a great line.
We'll have a patient that's told, she's going to have her knee replaced, and she's terrified. Wait a minute. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
We can provide you some injections for a while. We can embolize the arterial supply to the nerves to buy you some time. It's not the end of the world. Your family's not going to stop loving you. But it's true. Humans will suffer unnecessarily, and that's what your book is teaching people, how to get out of that.
Absolutely. And
Because
thrive
pain's
again.
going to hit you. It's coming.
Oh, it's coming. And it hurts. And you have to feel it. But you could get back up. You could, and I tell everyone they have 100% bounce back rate. And nothing in our life are we 100% on, but that we are. Because if we're listening to this and we're here, we have 100%. We got back up. We're in the fight. And that's what you could count on every day. You just have to choose to get up. And I'm not saying don't feel the pain. There's going to be days you're sad. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel anxious. It's okay. You are not the anxiety. You're feeling anxiety. You're feeling anxious, but you are not that. You don't have to identify it. So it's a emotion and it's a feeling you're feeling, but it's not final. And I try to teach everyone that don't identify with this feeling as if it's final and that's what you have to be. You may be depressed today. You're feeling sad. You're not a depressed person all the time. Don't put your head into that mindset.
True.
Because we all are going to be. I mean, there was early on, I remember feeling what feeling depression felt like. And it had been about 3 weeks where I could not get out of this funk. I think I was around 30 at that time. And it was after the strokes, after running the healthcare. I'd run multiple companies. And when I went to go start my practice, and I go to start my practice, and now I have all this time. And starting a practice.
So much work.
Where you go from being the C-suite of everything, having all the perks, to I'm literally speaking at a library, a restaurant. I have literally, I'm just sitting there with I went from running and living on the water to now I'm like, does anyone want to hear what I have to say? Anyone? So you're in this weird entrepreneurial space, and I'd gone through something hard, and I remember my sister coming over, and she's like, you need to get back up. And I said to her, I hear you. I don't know why physically I can't pull myself up right now. And at that time I had BlackBerry, and I would get a devotional Monday through Friday. So I'd read these devotionals, and she left and she said, listen, God did not give you life to isolate or go back to old ways. The world needs you. There's a gift that you've been called to. Get back up. And I said to her, niece, her name's Denise, I call her niece. I said, niece, I hear you. I don't know what to do. So unless God gives me some cue or strength, and I just remember crying because I was so sad. I knew it. And I'm like, I chose this path too, by the way, of going the entrepreneurial route, but I believed in what we could create for a better way for people. So sure as sugar, the next day was a Sunday. BlackBerries, don't ring a certain way, and I had it off. And I had a devotional come through, and it only came through on Monday to Friday. So why did this come through on this day?
God is
and
good.
It literally was, I did not give you life to isolate or go back to old ways. And it was in Romans.
Wow.
And I had asked for a sign. And whatever it did, and this is all it takes sometimes, is something that clicks.
Mm-hmm.
I got back up. And since that day, I've never looked back.
And that was your sister?
Giving me that.
Do you have two sisters? Or
Just one.
Just one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
Sarge is her nickname.
Were your parents Christians? Catholic, Italian? Catholic.
Yeah. And now it's funny. We all grew up Catholic. But now everyone is non-denominational Christians. And
that's me too. We grew up in a Catholic family, and then I fell away. I was a heathen in college, and a decade after that. And
me too.
Thank goodness got met my wife to be, and went back to the church. And what a gift. But,
faith gives you hope.
It does. And you talk about that hope.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Like what it says in the Bible, without hope, the people will perish, right? I mean, you have to have hope.
Yes. And that's what I feel like sometimes in medicine, because of diagnoses, it takes away hope.
We hex people with the diagnosis. We hex them.
Yes.
It's like a curse. I agree with you.
And so I think back in the hospital where they would have a brain injury, a stroke, spinal cord injury. They would, be coming out of coma, and obviously they were told, you'll never walk again. You'll never be the same again. So they're given all this information. Then they'd send me in and say, she's the one that's going to help on cognition and help you get back life. And I'm thinking, you just took hope away, and I'm going to come in. But that's what I became a hope dealer.
Yeah.
In my whole life,
because
I'm
you're an occupational therapist, you're getting people back moving. You're getting people back into their lives. You're
translating it to life.
Yeah, helping them with those skills. Yeah.
Because PT, I love them, but they would say, oh, they could walk 100 feet now. And I said, they could walk 100 feet, but they can't do it in a noisy environment with their cognition. They can't turn in their house. They don't know how to navigate or executive functioning for their daily life. They're going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. So none of this translates for discharge yet. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, well, insurance said they have to go. It's like, no. And ironically now, I'm still an occupational therapist doing it. I help them navigate life through their purpose of their occupation.
Yeah. You're just doing it from a mental perspective.
Absolutely.
I guess that's always part of the program anyway.
But in a different way.
But you've really capitalized on that. It is so true, the mental with healing. I mean, it's common to talk about it today, but it's still not in practice. Like, I'll give you an example. An interventional spine and pain program, the chances of finding a LCSW or a therapist, a psychologist in that program is almost zero. Even though we know 50% of it's between your ears, but it's still you don't find it.
Right.
It's still medicine is everything's still siloed.
Yes.
You dealt with that as an executive of a healthcare company. And one of my goals in life is to break that down.
Please.
Yeah.
We need to. And it's also breaking it down, being an advocate, but then also all of us working on prevention. Prevention.
So
trying to look at what does the healthiest version of us look like, even with where we are, And I still believe, I just think everything's figure-outable. Whatever.
Figure-outable, I like
Figure-outable, because, something new I've been dealing with, whether it's colitis, they can't figure it out. I've been to so many
physicians,
gastroenterologists, and they're like, take a probiotic. I'm like, this is not, but and I just look and I'm like, we can't send people to the moon. We send people to the moon, but we can't figure out certain
neck pain, back pain, indigestion.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
But probably the as you know, I mean, the amount of training for physicians today in nutrition is like almost zero.
Yes.
That was my entire undergrad focus. So, and so the concept of connecting what you eat and how you think, everything you teach to your health, it's everything.
It's literally everything.
But there's no money in that.
I know.
We make money by putting needles in people and doing surgery and doing procedures, right? And so I think there's a force for change. I think
definitely
people like you writing books, sharing their story, because patients don't know what to do they?
No.
They get lost.
And we just have to. I think we just have your show. It's equipping people to know healthcare isn't going to make you healthy.
No.
Self-care is actually going to help you be healthy, and through all of those choices, nutrition, movement, all of it. meditation, prayer, every part of that is actually what's going to help you become healthy, not just waiting for healthcare.
Leaning into it and figuring it. And not everybody has the same aptitude, the same
No.
skills, the same resources, right? But it is nice that we have the internet, isn't it? And we have access to this data. I say we have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips.
Yes.
No one was doing this stuff when we were in university. No one was. You couldn't.
Couldn't
I
listen
tell
to
my
a
children.
podcast.
No. I tell my children if I wanted to look up something, microfiche, baby, down the stairs, finding a journal. Now
my
it's like you
gosh.
just it's Chat GPT. Its concept is really really cool. The world's it's cool.
Here's the challenge. It's very cool that we have access. So all of that. The challenge has become we're in a comfort crisis. So accessibility for information is amazing. So all of that I support all day. The challenge became just what you said. We used to have to walk down, go get it, scan, look through the journals, literally on a screen it was scanned on. But you had to go out to engage.
So true.
You had to go out to go to the grocery store. You had to engage with people, and it was not easy. Everything took time, and now you never have to leave your house. Your food, everything has made it so how comfortable can we make it so you never have to engage anywhere? You could never leave your home anymore.
So true.
So you could become an expert, which actually is happening too on social media, where we talked earlier. We have people with no credentials that build a platform in front of this camera that never leave their house or treat one human,
Have
and they're
never
considered a
done
guru.
anything. Don't have a license to practice medicine, see patients, be a
Yes.
therapist. Have never led a company. We never sweat a payroll.
Yeah.
Never had to cut someone from the team. And they're going to give you business advice. Okay.
And they have thousands of followers because they know the hook, millions.
The algorithm.
And then someone's going, "Oh, I'll pay you $20,000 to be my person because of what was created through a camera."
So true.
So I think part of this is just giving people the understanding to do your due diligence,
Discernment.
have discernment. Yeah.
So true. That's what I'm trying to teach my children. I'm like, Dad, you don't always have discernment. No, I don't.
No, we're human. Sugar. Sometimes I don't either. I'm like, gosh, how did I let that person through?
So,
Yeah.
So what is your, one of the things I like to ask people, I'm a big morning routine person and I cold plunge at least 5 days a week.
Beautiful.
And I have to suffer at the gym. I'm just not good if I'm not suffering or exercising to the point of discomfort.
Yes.
That's what I mean by suffering. What's your morning routine like? How do you get your day going?
So I generally get up, I sit up, I'll have my prayer meditation time. I'll read a devotional. And then my goal is to, as long as I'm not giving like a keynote in the morning, is to try scheduled things later in the morning so I could get up and get my workout in. If I'm in motion and I could do something hard, it helps me because I have so much energy.
You do.
Otherwise, I can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
And so, everyone knows I'm a better person when I eat and when I work out.
Yeah. Well, you're
So,
fit.
yeah.
It's working.
Thank you. I've committed that. My morning routine is so important because even though I still have all these health challenges, I don't want anyone ever to say to me, well, it's because you didn't do this, this, or this. If I go out or I have any other problems, it will never be because I didn't try. Ever. I will cold plunge, I will sauna, I will red light, I will move, I will exercise, I will journal. By the way, it's not like I'm sitting home. I have an extremely busy schedule.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You have to I want to do what I'm doing for as long as I can because I'm a collector of people. I love collecting great people together and helping them rise up. And I want to pass this on to them. I want them to have a really good life. So as long as I could be around, because I didn't have a family, I feel like I could pour into others more.
You are.
And so I need to take care of my health.
And inspiring people. That's one of your I've mission statements. I've owned many companies and run companies, but the personal mission statement, your life mission statement. That's how you phrase it.
I do. Personal life mission
statement.
To inspire greatness.
You made me do that.
Yes.
So I started working on that on myself. I never had, and it helped me clarify some. I haven't gotten the power. You say the power word. but the personal mission statement.
I love it.
It's really it makes me understand myself. What makes me tick? What drives me?
Yeah, and you could pass this on to your children, because what the whole goal of coming up with your own personal mission, what you want to be known for. So if there's a docuseries coming out, what's the overarching theme of what your life would stand for? And guess what? It doesn't matter whether you're a doctor or not. It doesn't matter what's in your bank account. It doesn't matter whether you're a father or a husband or not, because you want to take it away so no matter what the role is, so roles change, you could still show up. So mine's inspiring greatness. Whether I'm Coach Dar, CEO Dar, founder Dar, whatever Dar I am, take the title away. Me as Darleen, I could be in the Starbucks line. I could be here. I could be with Peyton working. I could be somewhere, and I have to think, how, when I speak today, can I inspire greatness in the world around me? Which is, how am I showing up? What's my energy? What are my words? So it keeps me focused. And then the last part about having a mission statement is because people have fought really hard in our world, our military, so we could have life.
Amen.
Whether it's even in our family that worked hard and fought, then military worked hard and fought, so we could be sit here right now having freedom to live today. How could we not get up and do our part and carry a mission in this world? It is a disservice to everyone that is going out right now trying to protect us to just sit on our couch and watch Netflix all day.
That is a great statement.
Yeah, and
it's so true.
We're not
so many
here
people to be
for us.
thankful for.
Yeah, we didn't come in here.
And we can't waste it.
No. What good does it do to build a company, to have 17 houses, to sit there and do nothing with it? No good with that. There was nothing that came out. Maybe you employed some people along the way, but here's the thing. Whether you're at home, and even, by the way, if you are injured or hurt and you're at home, could you make a phone call today to talk to someone? So you're in mission, you're in service. And that's what I did when I had my strokes, when COVID hit. I was like, okay, I can't work the same way, but I'm still going to do something. And I just started to speak online, and I started to pour into people.
Giving away content during COVID.
Oh, lots of it.
COVID was tough on you. I went through a lot of COVID.
It was hard.
It was terrible for me.
I went down to one client and then had COVID 4 times. It was like just hit after hit. And then, it started to bounce back. And then I would be sick, and I just kept going, and I just kept pouring. I stayed true to the mission. That's how I bounced back.
And look what happened.
I know.
And then you have this incredible book.
I know. And we're here together.
You have more clients than you could ever take care of. No,
I'm grateful.
It's pretty cool.
It really is. And speaking, but everyone has the chance, and everyone should live not to get up for self. Take care of yourself, but it's because we have to all get up. And if we all lived and said, how can I use my gift to add value to this world? If everyone vibrated on that level with that mental frequency, our world would not be so selfish.
Be so much kinder and gentler, wouldn't it?
We would be more innovative. We would actually have better performance, and we would have more fulfillment.
Yeah, when you're just trying to do good, it just everything flows. To use your term, everything flows when you're really trying to do good and trying to acknowledge people. I had a country grandfather. I grew up in the Midwest, and my dad and but my grandfather was a bigger role on me. And he would always stop and take time to talk to we call them the little people in life. And that's not to sound condescending, because we were a very blue collar, lower socioeconomic, that was our family. But he would stop and talk to the guy at Walmart that was sweeping outside and just pour into him.
Yeah.
And I learned that at a young age. Life's better. Just acknowledging people, making eye contact.
Yes.
People just get ignored, don't they?
My mother did that with everyone that sat in that barber seat, and that's what I learned. And to this day, everyone knows it's around me. There's not a human. It doesn't matter to me who you are. If you're in front of me, I'm gonna be like, how you doing? What's going on in your world? And then if I get to know you, you're gonna be in my family.
Yeah, you're easy to talk to.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's because I really care, and I hurt when people hurt. I feel, and the world is in a lot of pain. And I never want to be someone that adds more pain to someone's life ever. No, definitely not. No one.
I think a lot of
not.
people probably end up in our space, whether they're a therapist, a doctor, a healer, a LCSW. They probably end up in that space. Maybe they had some wounds, and they feel pain.
Yeah.
You know, when I used to see patients, I could feel their pain. It was too much. In fact, it overcame me so much that I my own affect was so far in the distance I didn't know, because I was so concerned about my patients, and it makes you a good healer.
Yes, it does.
But it can also have side effects, huh?
Yes, when working in the hospital, you know, when you have someone who is like, we were on vacation last week. How are we in the hospital because of a car accident or a stroke or something? What do you mean my daughter or my husband or my wife's not going to make it, or they're never going to walk again or talk again, or they'll always be of the brain of a 5-year-old? They're looking at you going, I don't understand this. And then your shift ends and you go home and they look and they're like, have a good night. And I'm like, how am I going to have a good night when all I'm thinking is my patients, and all I want to do is get back in there and help them. Like, I couldn't wait to get back in and go, all right, what do we have to work on next? What if we could defy the odds today? Every day to me was, we're defying the odds. And that's what I would tell all my clients. And ironically, I have a few patients to this day that kept in touch with me.
We're going to defy the odds. I love that, telling your patient that. That's cool.
This one girl that for sure they told her she was 17 when she got injured. She connected with me recently on Facebook over the past few years, and she's married and has a family, and her mom and dad and family, and they send me kids, and they're like, we don't know if I would have had any of this if you didn't come in and keep me going, because if it was left just to their traditional treatment, she wouldn't have gotten better.
Yeah. So was that a difficult I'm going to hop, skip, and jump over here on your transition from being a therapist, a healthcare provider, you know, to being a CEO of a healthcare company? That was a hard transition for me. Very, because I got my self-esteem from helping people. Yeah. I loved help. You know, you're seeing patients all day long. You're going, my life's tough, but gosh, it's not as hard as my patients. So it made me feel, I just got this satisfaction and self-esteem from that. And then now you got 85 employees and you're fighting with insurance companies, and you got to get people to do their job. And how did you transition that? Because that's not easy.
It was very hard, and it was very frustrating, because again, you're really still a patient advocate. And so you would see where it didn't go right with insurance, or they're denying something, or you're being forced to run a company in a way that you're going, this isn't fair. They need more minutes. They need to be seen more. But you got to stay within the parameters to get reimbursed.
You work in a system.
And I would get extremely frustrated with that. It was not fulfilling when it would go that way. And then the other thing that was hard is when I would see people that are healthcare workers not treat the patients well. And I remember one time almost getting fired. I thought for sure I'm going to get fired running this company, because I walked down the hall after I'd seen a few patients being neglected for too long, sitting without being changed or whatever. And so some of the nurses' aides were doing documentation, and I had wet washcloths in one hand and tennis balls in the other. And I told everyone, stand up. And they all stood up, and I put wet washcloths in some of the seats and tennis ball in the other. I said, sit down, which you don't tell people to do that. And they sat down. And so then their scrubs are getting soaked because it was so wet. I made sure the washcloths were that wet.
That's great.
And now everything's soaked on them and the chair. And then the tennis ball was as if it was the Hoyer pad that gets crunched up, and now they're sitting on something. Someone paralyzed can't weight shift. So now you have them, and I said, and don't shift your weight when it's uncomfortable. And they're like, why are you doing this? I said, because you're wet and you're uncomfortable, but that's how Joe and Mary and all these people that you're like, I can't get to them right now. Really? Because you had to go out on a union break or whatever it was. I was like, don't forget these are humans. You are forgetting that these are humans, and they just became very robotic for you, and you can't work in healthcare if you stay like that.
That's so good. That's good stuff.
So
you got such a big heart. That's great stuff.
My theory in life is, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down at least trying everything we could. And I'm never going to sit by and watch someone treat someone inhumane or poorly. Not on my watch. No way.
Clearly.
I can't sleep. No.
You love people.
I love people.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're doing amazing work in your book.
Thank you.
I'm really, I got a lot of use out of it personally. A lot of good stuff coming out of your book. Let me ask you one more question here. What book are you reading right now? What would be on your nightstand? Any book I should pick up? I've read yours. I just finished it.
So it's funny. I have about 3 books going right now.
Or even a favorite book, if that's better.
Well, one of my absolute favorite books is Atomic Habits.
Yeah, James Clear.
It's so good. I go to it all the time. I love Atomic Habits. And then The Noticer is this other one. And it's a fable, but it's about how this gentleman, by noticing things, being aware, listening, how you will be able to help business and people, and life just gets incrementally better if you would just sit
paying attention
and be aware and notice instead of
tunnel vision.
Yes,
what we're doing.
Yes.
I have to fight that.
Yes.
Tunnel vision.
Sometimes
ambitious.
you get in the zone of you have to get things done. So, yeah. I just tell people, like anyone who works around me, I'll be like, okay, I'm in fire mode. Like I've got to get down the list, and this isn't personal. This is like today we have to it's efficiency day. And so, but then there's times where I want to know how you're doing, what's going on. So you're not going to be perfect at all times, but you just have to have progress and show you care.
Good stuff. That is good stuff. Any last parting words of wisdom? There's a lot in this book. You have to get this book if you haven't bought it. There's a lot in there. But what do you,
I would just say, just as I said, there are people fighting right now so you could have life. Make sure you get up and use your gift for good. And here's the thing. I don't want you to just get up to just come into this world mediocre. I want you, when you leave this world, you gave it everything you had. And I always end with greatness is open to all, but it's earned by few. Answer the call to greatness. Be the person that shows how to do life at a high standard. And Kobe Bryant once said that greatness isn't what you accomplish, but it's how you live that it inspires someone else.
That's good stuff. Really good stuff. Thank you so much, Coach Dar. I love this today. This is great stuff. I hope today's message helps you stand taller in your own shoes, that you get this book, The Art of Bouncing Back. Coach Dar, you're amazing. God bless you. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you. Awesome stuff.